Man, it's good to be back. I feel like with this mic, I'm about to do like fucking stand up or some shit. Hey, what's the deal with Alan Wake? Is it all a dream? Is it all in his head? Is he making it up for attention? I don't know. I have no fucking clue. That's why I'm asking you. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Alan Wake. I know. Okay. That's enough. Chill out. Stop. Okay. As I was saying, welcome back to Alan Wake. I'm really excited to be getting back into this game. Ever since finishing that first video, I have had this game stuck in my head. I've been waiting patiently to finally finish it and cover it, and here we are. I tried to, put a little variety in the videos that I was uploading, variety being more Resident Evil, but you gotta understand, there's like 100 Resident Evil games. There's only 2 Alan Wake games. Well, I mean, technically probably 3, but does it really count as a full game? I don't know. Now that we're back, though, we can finally finish up Alan Wake 1 and also take a look at the side game, Alan Wake's American Nightmare. If you don't know, I only played Alan Wake for the first time fairly recently. I'm talking like August of last year, and I was immediately inspired to make a video about it. It's a really good game. I was already a big fan of Remedy's Max Payne, so I have no clue why I hadn't played any other game in their catalog before this point. I bought Alan Wake around the same time its sequel was announced, along with the rest of Remedy's catalog of games, because why not? They have like 6 or 7 games total. And I had known about Alan Wake since the game came out, and I just never played it, which is a huge mistake on my part because I was missing out on a really good game. But hey, here we are. Better late than never. So, Alan Wake. Of course, there's going to be spoilers ahead for Alan Wake, so go watch my video, or go play the game. You can do whatever you want, really. Before we get back into the game, there's a few loose ends we need to tie up. If you buy Alan Wake on Steam, you have the option to buy the Collector's Edition, which comes with a bunch of extra stuff. Most of this stuff is found in the game files, stuff like trailers, the screenplay to the game, development material, behind-the-scenes promotional material, and even the game's score. Not the soundtrack, the literal score. Well, I mean the soundtrack is there too. And in-game there's even a video developer commentary.
Hello, my name is Mikael Kasurinen and I'm the lead game designer of Alan Wake. This is a video game commentary that spans throughout.
I should probably also mention that if you bought the Collector's Edition when it came out for the 360, you got all this stuff physically with your game. Nowadays, a physical copy of the Collector's Edition is extremely rare to find and stupid expensive. One of these bonus features included is a book, The Alan Wake Files, which details the aftermath of the game on the town of Bright Falls, written from the perspective of Clay Stewart. He made a short cameo appearance in the first episode. There's a lot in this book, but the most intriguing content relates to Agent Nightingale. In the game, he shows up as a persistent threat to Alan Wake, but his motivations are unknown, and his reasons for being in Bright Falls are only ever vaguely implied. The book gives us a lot of insight into his investigation. For starters, we now know that he went to Bright Falls to investigate off the record. This was not an FBI-sanctioned investigation. Later in the book is Nightingale's dossier on Bright Falls, which shows that he had been fixated on the town and Alan Wake for some time prior to the game. All this implies that he already had an understanding of the strange occurrences in the town and might even have a strong belief and connection to the paranormal. He might have, similar to Clay, been experiencing dreams relating to these events and wanted, or needed, to look further into them. And while his investigation is meticulous, once he decides to go to Bright Falls, he acts almost on pure emotion, hence his near manic state seen during the game. This book itself is still full of implications, and we don't ever get a concrete answer as to why he's there, just that he almost certainly knew something about the town that made it dangerous. And as we'll see shortly, his hostility towards the residents might be because he could tell they knew a lot more than they were letting on. Also included in this book are extra manuscript pages not seen in the game, as well as snippets from books written by Alan. Well, written by Sam, but, written by Alan in the context of the fiction. And of course, there are also other fake works, including detailing the history of Bright Falls, newspaper articles, photographs, police reports, and so on. In the end, nobody who lives in Bright Falls is willing to open up about the events that befell their town in the 2 weeks of Alan's visit. Some, like Rose Marigold, were touched by the darkness and forever changed. Nightingale is missing, and Alan is either missing or dead, although Clay believes he is still out there. There was one night when I was walking back to the Majestic on the Elderwood Trail, and I thought I saw a man that looked like Wake rounding a bend in the trail. I called out and started jogging, then running after him, and while he seemed to walk at a steady and even pace, I was never able to catch up. There was even a brief moment in which he looked back and I saw that it was him. He smiled at me as though he were letting me in on a big secret, just before rounding the bend. When I caught up, he had vanished. That's pretty much where the book ends. Clay returns home to find his family gone, and after a year of searching, he reunites with them and lives a normal life, considering his investigation a failure, and leaving it up to someone else to continue it. It's an intriguing read, and I implore anyone else who wants to learn more about this game's lore to read it. I'm just here to convey the information that I think it's important for us to know before continuing on. So, we're not done yet with that extra content. There are included 2 short comics set during the events of the game that I'm going to go ahead and consider canon. They're canon until proven otherwise. Night Spring starts with Sheriff Breaker's dad, retired detective Frank Breaker, reading a copy of Alan Wake's new novel, The Sudden Stop, when he gets a call from Barry Wheeler, who relays to Frank the code words, Night Springs. So this comic is a follow-up to the throwaway line from episode 5.
Here's a list of people and phone numbers. I need you to call them and tell them you have a message from me. Night Springs, okay? They'll know what to do.
Night Springs? Like the TV show? Gotcha. Oh, hey, that radio guy is on the list, Maine. Who's Frank Breaker? He related to you?
My dad.
Hey, is this like a secret society?
Can you do this? You'll be safe here. The backup power's on. These guys need to be alerted, just in case we don't come back.
You'll come back for me though, right?
As soon as we get the chopper ready. Thanks, Wheeler. I owe you one.
With that, Frank gears up and heads into town. On the way, he calls Kirkland. They have a short conversation in which we only see Frank's responses. I have no idea who Kirkland is. Maybe he'll play a bigger role in the future? He links up with Pat Maine and the rest of the gang, who are a part of this group, kind of an inner circle of people who know about the Dark Presence and get together to stop it if it starts to get too rowdy. There's a lot of faces, some familiar, some new. We meet Mulligan and Thornton in the flesh. We first heard them over the police scanner in episode 2. Frank takes charge and puts a plan together. He learns his daughter left town with Alan in a helicopter. They were heading to the power plant. With that, he heads off to hopefully meet them there. He reaches the swing bridge and is attacked by a Taken, which he takes care of swiftly. A flare goes off just past the power plant, indicating their helicopter has already crashed at this point. He finds the plant deserted and figures they headed to the dam, so he steals a truck and drives that way. On the way, he spots a helicopter wreckage, and while distracted, nearly gets crushed by a semi. He veers off the cliff, and the semi also does that for some reason. Frank survives the crash and has a one-on-one conversation with the woman in black, Barbara Jagger. Barbara puts it bluntly: if Sarah Breaker protects Alan Wake, she has to die. Frank doesn't like that and zhuzhes her away with a flare. She didn't really like that all too much, so she throws a bunch of Taken at him. He takes quite the beating during this fight, and it cuts between his struggle and Alan reaching the shoebox in the well-lit room. It looks like Frank is as good as dead, but Alan uses the clicker just in time. He reaches the dam just as Alan is leaving and passes out. When he wakes up, it's night again. He musters up enough strength to make it to the well-lit room and enter, finally reaching Sarah. So, that's the story. And to be honest, it was alright. It didn't add much to the story that we didn't already know, except maybe the secret Bright Falls Society, and it's weird that they're putting so much emphasis on this in easily missed extra content. I'm wondering if they're setting it up for a future game. Maybe Alan Wake 2? I don't know. I haven't played it yet. Anyway, there's one more comic we have to take a look at. Psycho Thriller is a short comic following Dr. Emil Hartman in the aftermath of episode 4. Yep, that bastard is still alive. It begins with Hartman waking up the night after he was nearly killed by the Dark Presence. He quickly makes an attempt to leave, but comes face to face with Mott. You guys remember him? He's been taken, but still has some semblance of consciousness. He was just about to kill Nurse Sinclair when Hartman showed up. How many of you guys remember this character? Last time we saw her, she was unconscious on the floor. Now she's at the mercy of Mott, who quickly forgets about her when Hartman shows up. He scolds Mott for failing to get the manuscript, and Mott runs off into the woods ashamed. Hartman and Sinclair re-enter the lodge to find a place to hide until the sun comes up. They find Rudolph, another character last seen briefly in episode 4. He's still painting. He can't seem to stop. The paintings are bizarre, and we can recognize some events that played out in the game. In a nice gesture, Hartman gives Rudolph his cardigan. Wow, he's such a nice guy. Actually, he was just using Rudolph in order to trick Mott. Mott doesn't realize it's not Hartman until after he's already killed him. Hartman and the nurse barely escape and are able to hold off Mott until the police arrive. And of course, Hartman is very eager to lead those officers off to their demise in order to take care of Mott. Hartman lures Mott out into the open and sweet-talks him into kneeling down for him. Jesus Christ. That's when the deputies pump him full of lead. Mott's dead, the sun's coming up, and Hartman refuses to give any explanation as to what the hell just happened. The deputies and Nurse Sinclair leave. As they do, Hartman calls an unknown number asking for a place to stay after what happened to the lodge. He hangs up, and for a moment he stares at a plaque resting at his feet, overlooking Cauldron Lake. He reflects on his time with Thomas Zane, and even though he still misses him, he was glad it was Zane who was trapped in the dark place, rather than him. Congratulations, you made it through the non-game portion of the video. Now we have a good understanding of where the world of Alan Wake stands after the credits rolled. Alice is saved and returns home, Barry is alive, Dr. Hartman is also alive, and the town of Bright Falls pretends that nothing even ever happened. Of course, we'll learn a little bit more about these characters' whereabouts when we get into the rest of the game. Speaking of which, let's do that now. Last time on Alan Wake and his wife Alice took a vacation to Bright Falls, Washington. Some stuff happens, Alice gets kidnapped, yada yada yada. You know what? I'll just let Alan explain it.
Something I only know as the Dark Presence held my wife captive and used her to write a horror story that came true.
I'll bring her back.
Some part of me had been aware enough to write my escape into the story.
Alan?
I saved Alice, then wrote a better ending for the story. But not without a price. I was trapped somewhere in the dark place, a strange zone somewhere beyond our world.
It's not a lake. It's an ocean.
So here we are, back in Bright Falls, just outside the Oh Dear Diner, except something's off.
Welcome to the
Yeah, we're in the dark place. It's like we're reliving a fragment of a memory, but everything is distorted. With no other option, we can only reenact the event that kicked off the game. This intro is actually pretty well done. Any comfort you might find in the familiar is washed away by the distorted dialogue and music. It's hard to describe the dread I felt rounding this corner, not knowing what to expect since Barbara is meant to be dead. There could be anything back there. But there's nothing back there except for the bathroom we never got to enter. We can now.
Alan, listen to me. Go no deeper.
What?
Focus. You're losing yourself. I will try to help the best I can, but it's up to you. Find a better point of contact.
What do you mean?
I cannot hear you. Please, you're the one making all this happen. Concentrate. This is what's happening.
Nightmares. Too deep. Can't take the pressure. It's too much.
Suddenly, Wake found himself face to face with himself.
Thomas Zane appears to give us some guidance.
You will need weapons.
Anyway, we get our hands on a flashlight and a gun and go to leave the diner with the hopes of reaching Zane.
Zane had come back. The diner had become deserted. Then the door was smashed off his hinges and Wake had to fight for his life.
So this TV Alan, who I can only assume is the real Alan, seems to have turned manic after finishing Departure at the end of the game. Not quite sure why Alan would be trying to kill himself though, that's a little weird. Leaving the diner leads us into the woods. So it seems this TV Alan is distorting the world. That's cool. Reaching a cabin, Alan finds a manuscript page and picking it up causes the words to manifest into the world, waiting to be made real. We're reintroduced to the mechanic that made a short appearance in the last episode. It's slightly improved here as it is a lot quicker. We're now back in Bright Falls, and we need to use the phone signal to reach Zane. The path you take here is very similar to the one you take in episode 5. It's a bunch of reused assets, but they change enough that it still feels fresh. It also helps that encounters are much more of a challenge. I don't know what it is, but the enemies seem quicker. They rush and flank you in a way that they didn't before. It could all be in my head though, I don't know. I might just be a little rusty after all this time. TV Allen shows back up to make our journey just a little tougher, bringing more inanimate objects to life. Heading through the tool shop, What? Huh. So there are these cutouts of different characters scattered throughout the episode. Included with them are blurbs that, I just don't know what these are meant to represent. Unlike the main game, this seems to actually be inside Alan's head, so these cutouts have to be figments of his imagination. They're written from a perspective that's hard to figure out, but they each seem to promote completely fictional books. They're like Flanderizations of these characters. Here it is referencing a secret society that is technically introduced in a comic that I guarantee many missed. There's 6 of them and they're actually considered a collectible. Speaking of collectibles, Alan Wake has quite a lot of them. I don't think I even touched on them in my first video. The manuscript pages were collectible, obviously, and so were the coffee thermoses, and these beer can pyramids, and the chests, and the radio shows, and the TV shows, and the signs. I'm not joking, the signs are a collectible. The signal has these cardboard standees, and it has these alarm clocks. I don't know the symbolism behind them, or if there even is any symbolism there. The next episode also has a collectible, the Night Springs video game, as seen in episode 4. There's so many of these collectibles, and I never really bothered to collect them all. I'm not sure if they even do anything, but I'm sure they don't. Anyway, the stupid ass TV Allen keeps fucking with the world, making it harder to get around.
It was too big on the inside. He couldn't see the ceiling. Something was moving in there. He was lost. He couldn't find the exit.
Asshole.
This is actually a pretty cool set piece. The walls are lined with furnaces with the word blast. Focusing the beam on the word causes the furnace to blow, which can be used to kill enemies, but you don't have to focus the beam. Simply shining the light on the word will make it go off. So you'll need to pay attention to where you're looking so you don't waste your chances to kill enemies, and so you don't accidentally kill yourself. There are a couple more areas like this that are littered with words that can both help and hinder you. This area has words like tools which give you ammo, and right next to that is enemy. Oh boy, I wonder what this does. Okay, so Barry's here.
Barry? Hey, bestseller! Looking good!
You're not real.
Well, no shit. What gave me away? What, the see-through thing?
Yeah, he's annoying, but at least there's someone else here with us. Even if he's not actually real, None of this is actually real. We head off to a new location now, the Biltmore Sawmill, a sawmill just outside of town. Is this area a real location, or is it a place Alan made up in his head? According to the wiki, it was a cut location from the main game, but take that with a grain of salt. I did find this official map which shows a sawmill roughly in the same location, so maybe it is real. Here's an interesting set piece. The street lights blink on and off so you can lure enemies into them just as they turn on. Pretty interesting, but it goes on for a bit too long. Right after that, we have to take care of a couple monster trucks. Monster trucks? And Barry won't shut up for the entire fight. We finally reach the sawmill premises and have to fight a chainsaw guy. Well, that's pretty scary. I don't like him. The sawmill starts off feeling like classic Alan Wake. It feels like something that would have been in episode 2 or 3. That is, until you cross the channel and reach the rooftop. Things start to get a little weird.
Hey, hold that pose. That was a good one.
Like this?
Yeah, but smile a little more. No, that's too much. You want to look mysterious. Maybe a little tough.
Venturing further, the sawmill has morphed. We're now back in Alan's apartment, where we meet up with Zane. This is where we learn the truth about TV Allen.
He knew there was no way out. Oh!
No, I'm right here,
What's
Zane.
going wrong?
That's not me, it's just, I don't know, an echo, a hallucination, the dark presence.
No, the dark presence is not responsible for this. You are making this happen. You're trapped in your own nightmares. You are fighting yourself.
He has no choice. He needs to fight himself. It's either that or be consumed by the darkness. The apartment balcony gives way to the sawmill warehouse. This is where Alan makes his final stand against his own psychotic self. The fight is simple yet tough. Shine your light on the TVs to brighten up their day. You're also assaulted by poltergeists and taken while you do so. Honestly, it might be the toughest thing in Alan Wake so far besides the platforming from the end of episode 6. TV Alan keeps shouting words of discouragement, but we persist and push him back, seemingly winning the fight, but not really. It's not over just yet.
There you go, Alan.
Hartman.
It's all in your head. You've been making it up. Really, Wade? Really, Wade? Come on. Your delusions.
Why is this happening to me? Lodge. No. Hartman. There's no way out. No way out. No way out. I need to get out of here. Get out. No. How do I get out of here?
So that was the signal, and to be honest, it was pretty fun. It seems that Remedy's learned a lot after finishing Alan Wake, and they wanted to use what they've learned to make more gameplay-focused content. That's not to say there's no story at all to be had here. The game revels in its chaotic narrative, but still manages to remain cohesive. Set just after the events of the game, it sees Alan Wake trying to hold on to what's left of his sanity after being permanently trapped in the dark place. In a manic episode, Alan puts himself into another story in an attempt to either kill himself or just give in and succumb to the dark place. And in Alan's mind, that might be just as good as death at this point. But as we saw, his newfound sanity was only temporary. There's one more episode left. Will Alan be able to regain his sanity and escape the dark place? Let's find out in The Rider. We start right where we left off, with Alan waking up at the Cauldron Lake Lodge. Dr. Hartman is here, or is that Barry?
Really, Wake?
Really? Your
Delusions are out of control.
Get out of my head.
Seriously, Al, you need to get a grip. You know reality's different here. See what I mean, Al?
Damn, that was fucking cool. I love the way these levels start. They're recognizable but distorted slightly, and as you progress they distort further until they're unrecognizable. Like we're venturing further into Alan's psyche that's corrupted by the dark place. Oh cool, the Night Springs video game. Wait, did you hear that? It's making the Xbox sound. What the fuck? Once we make it around to the main entrance, we're greeted by what else than the Old God stage from episode 4. Yeah, it's pretty obvious why it's here.
Wake heard the old gods playing. Music came out all wrong. It attracted the horrors.
Oh, what? I thought we got rid of this fucking guy. Yeah, there's nothing really special about this fight. Moving on. We reconvene with Zane in the lodge and leave Barry behind. I'm sure he'll be okay without me. From this point on, Zane's gonna be by our side to offer guidance to reach the lighthouse. How poetic. But like, he won't be able to follow us into the cabin because it's like, I don't know, full of dark energy or some shit. I don't know. Oh no, what's this? Platforming. What have they done? It's not that bad. It's not fun, but it's not terrible either. It's actually uplifted by the word fragments. You have to physically create the platform to continue.
The world was tilted. It was turning upside down. Wake was lost. He would fall. He couldn't tell which way was up. He would die here, torn apart by the whirlwind.
God, these TV scenes are really cool. This one is reminiscent of the hitchhiker encounter from all the way back at the very beginning of the game.
Wake was too high. Too high!
Wrong. He's not high enough, I think. The tension ramps up as flying debris becomes obstacles to avoid and enemies begin to block our way. And then, finally, we reach it. Sweet land. We're not done, though. We still need to fight past hordes of Taken. We enter a tunnel and... Jesus! You scared me. Sorry, I thought you were someone else. We finally made it to the Ferris wheel. And I don't like the Ferris wheel. Don't get me wrong, it's a bizarre and twisted little ride, but that's really all it is. It basically takes you on a carnival ride through different locales from the game, and then you get on an elevator and then it's over. There's not even any combat, bro. Come on, let me fucking kill things. We're so close, guys. We're like halfway to the lighthouse now. Anyway, there's an exposition dump here. Take it away, exposition Andy. There are two versions of Alan currently, the Alan in the cabin who's creating the story and the Alan we play as who is a part of the story. Both are real and both are Alan. Mr. Scratch is not Alan. Who is Mr. Scratch? I don't know. The Alan we play as is the version of Alan still holding on to his sanity, the part of Alan still capable of rational thought. The Alan we see on TVs is too far gone and is creating this story in hopes of either being fully consumed by the darkness or just killed by it. Either way, he will be at peace. Then Alan brings up the clicker page and Zane is all like, "Stop asking so many questions, dude. God. Get a load of this guy, wants to know what's up with the fucking clicker page. What an idiot." This bit of exposition pretty much tells us nothing we didn't already know, and refuses to tell us stuff that we do want to know. Thanks, Andy. Back to the game. This is a cool little set piece. Is this a set piece? What even is a set piece? I don't know, but it's still fun.
You have a lot of problems, Alan.
I do.
Hello? Oh,
Since we're being so frank here, Alan, and let me just reiterate how happy I am that you've had this breakthrough, I would like to summarize your condition.
By all means.
And please, just let me know if you think I'm being unfair.
All right.
what a weird scene this is. It just boils down to more unsuccessful discouragement on the part of TV Alan. Yeah, I know he's called Insane Alan on the wiki. I don't care. TV Alan sounds better. Zane sends down a page which should help keep our head in the game.
Hey, let me tell you something, Alan. I know how your mind works. You screw up, then you start analyzing it, and before you know it, you start writing all these horror stories in your head. Don't you?
Come on, I don't do that.
Yes, you do. I know how it goes. You're a complete failure. I hate you and I'll never forgive you for whatever it was that you did. Am I wrong?
Oh, man.
See? I know you. But Alan, it's all in your head. It is. I love you, and I'm not going anywhere.
And just like that, the lighthouse is back on. Now that we're so close, its light can be used as a weapon. If you play this part right, you shouldn't even have to fire a gun. Just break the boulders and let the lighthouse cleanse your enemies. It is fun to be able to immediately disintegrate droves of enemies at a time, but like a similar previous set piece, it does drag on a little longer than it probably should. Still fun though. We've made it to the lighthouse. All we have to do now is enter and reach the very top. We're transported back to the cabin. Barry shows back up and tries to kill us? What the fuck, Barry? It's okay guys, he's not even real. None of this is real, remember? This fight with Barry is meant to be symbolic. Alan is letting go of his fantasies, and the dark place Barry is one of those. So don't feel bad as you pump it full of lead, piece of shit, motherfucking... Okay, let's get this over with. He enters the cabin and confronts himself.
Why is this happening to me? I can't find my way. It's too dark. Why is this happening to me?
Just like that, my mind was clear. Zane had been right. I could think clearly again. But I couldn't survive in this place the way he had, and I might not make it back a second time.
With a clear head, he can finally figure out a way to escape the dark place. And he happened to have an idea.
My name is Alan Wake, and I'm a writer.
That's it. Alan Wake is over. Not. Alan Wake is never over. I mean, we got a whole other game to play, and we're not even on to Alan Wake 2 yet. That's right. Up next on the menu is Alan Wake's American Nightmare. The story behind this game's existence is actually kind of interesting. Well, I mean, it's interesting to me. Pretty much right after Alan Wake was released, Remedy began working on a sequel. And months of planning, writing, and deliberation led to a proof of concept demo that showed Alan Wake tracking down Mr. Scratch through the Arizona desert in an attempt to re-enter the real world and reunite with his wife Alice. Along the way, he'll find manuscript pages that he needs to turn fictional events into reality. Does that sound familiar? Of course it does. It's so interesting to see early concept art for locations and enemies meant for a proper sequel that was just kind of set to the wayside, and then eventually abandoned in favor of Quantum Break. Nothing against Quantum Break, it's fine. Of course it wasn't all for nothing, as story elements, gameplay, puzzle design, enemies, props, and models, and even voice lines would be used to create American Nightmare. A sort of side game slash almost expansion that does all the things I just said a second ago. If you want to read more on this abandoned sequel, I'll link the video and article that this information comes from. Thanks, Polygon. Without further delay, this is Alan Wake's American Nightmare. Set 2 years after the events of the first game, Alan is thrown into another story, an episode of Night Springs as it would appear. He's the writer and the co-star. The other co-star is, of course, Mr. Scratch.
Mr. Scratch.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Scratch, my bad. Alan confronts him, but Mr. Scratch is too powerful.
I'll catch you eventually!
Maybe. But what are you gonna do then? By then, I'll have had my hands on everything you love.
He wakes up in the desert.
The man has been brutally
Oh my god, there's a narrator?
out from the...
I guess I'm out of a job. Is that the cabin? We just got here and the darkness is already up to its old song and dance. It possesses a bunch of objects and... barricade? Really? You know I have a flashlight, right? You're not even going to try to come at me or anything? Well, alright. Hey, look at that, a conveniently placed gun. Okay, now we're getting serious. In the middle of this dark, empty landscape lies a beacon of light, the Desert Shore Motel. In the motel garage, we can find Emma Sloan working on her car. When Alan confronts her, she's all like,
Hey, it's you.
Alan doesn't acknowledge that and is all like, hey, you got my manuscript page? And Emma is like, yes. And then she gives him the page. First of all, Emma, we've never met. And second, did you not just hear all those gunshots just now? I killed like 6 people on the way here. Anyway, she happily gives us the page to read.
At the oil derrick, the wheel had been jammed in place and turned until the oil gurgled and flowed thick and flammable. The warning lights were blinking in a fast rhythm, bright and steady, powered by the battery. The Kasabian CD was playing in the boombox, all distorted guitars and intense beat. High above, some piece of orbital junk or another collided with the satellite, knocking it radically off course. Trailing debris, it screamed down from the skies at an impossibly steep angle. All that high-tech engineering reduced to nothing more than a bullet that would destroy whatever it hit.
This is our first puzzle of the game. We somehow need to make this written scene become a reality, and that means finding the resources needed to set the scene. The battery, the CD, and the valve. But before we head off, we can actually talk to Emma.
Just to be clear, you should know that we haven't actually met before.
Sure we have, Mr. Wake. Remember you stayed at the motel here.
No, the guy you're talking about just looks like me, even if he uses my name. He's behind all this trouble.
Oh, I thought, now that you mention it, I guess your aura looks a lot nicer than his, actually. I'm very sensitive to things like that.
What was that you said about my aura?
Oh, I'm very spiritual, you know. I can see auras, but I only use it for healing and helping people. I'm like a wise woman, you know? I give people insight and advice.
Look, just because I say crazy things doesn't mean I believe everything.
Don't be like that. Maybe you should take a few crystals with you if you're going out there. It might be dangerous. They soothe your energies and focus your mind. It's fantastic.
And they help me take out the bad guys?
Oh, well, no, not as such.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm...
Or I have some wonderfully potent herbal detox suppositories.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, we head out and get what we need. And this is where the game opens up. No, really, this is an open world game. Well, not really open world, but these are large open levels where you can tackle objectives in any order. There's a lot of stuff to find other than just the main stuff here too. There's radios, TV broadcasts, manuscript pages that don't rewrite reality. You know, the usual.
Well, here you are, about to enjoy another cool Arizona night with me, Eddie Rodman, the host with the boast. Hey, any of you guys remember Old Gods of Asgard? Man, I actually saw them twice back in the 70s. Well, now, almost 4 decades later, they're making a comeback. And let me tell you, these boys have seen a lot of road. They're some serious rock and roll veterans, because they weren't too young even back in the day. Well, now I've got Odin and Tor Anderson, 2 of the original Old Gods, in the studio with me, along with their manager, Barry Wheeler. Nice to have you guys here.
Oh, hey, great to be here, Eddie.
Yeah, hey. Hello! And what made you do a comeback after all this time?
Well, it was a sad thing. See, the original bass player for Old Gods, Fat Bob Balder, passed away in...
Leukemia! Bob had leukemia, poor bastard. Yeah, after that, we didn't feel like playing no more.
Long story short, I ran into these guys up in Washington, and it was obvious to me that they still got it. So I figured, hey, let's make some music, right? And they went for it.
Now, Barry, you were a literary agent before this, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you were very successful. You represented Alan Wake, I believe, who disappeared under mysterious...
Yeah, that's... Hey, I just want to talk about Old Gods tonight. Is that cool? Can we do that?
Oh, yeah, sure. Listen, why don't we take a little break, and then later on in the program, we'll hear the new Old Gods single. Stay tuned, folks.
Well, at least Barry landed on his feet.
Okay, so this is really interesting. So it would seem that we are in the real world right now. However, I don't believe that. Especially when I realized that we are currently in Night Springs. Yeah. You could find a manuscript page that tries to play it off like, oh yeah, you know, Arizona's got that supercharged energy shit or whatever, so you can like bend reality like you could at Cauldron Lake. Yeah, bro, sure. No one's gonna notice that a fictional town from a TV show now exists in Arizona. But even if this is the real world, knowing what we know now, I hate to say it, and yes, spoiler alert if you really care, it doesn't work out for Alan. I mean, considering there's an Alan Wake 2. Anyway, enough nonsense. While voiceover me was busy rambling, gameplay me was getting the stuff to rewrite reality. We found the battery, we fought some Taken, we found the valve, we fought more Taken. Whoa, what the hell are those? These funny guys are Taken that start off big, but as you shine your light on them, they mitosis into smaller Taken. Do this a couple times and now you got a proper horde to deal with. But now that they're smaller, they're weaker, so they're really not a big deal. It's when they're part of a larger horde that it becomes a challenge. We eventually find a CD in some boarded up shack. Setting everything up, all we have left to do is put the CD in the boombox. Turns out the CD is Kasabian's self-titled 2004 debut album. God damn it, Sam Lake has such a good fucking taste in music. I'm not sure what causing a satellite to crash down to Earth accomplished, but it was cool as fuck, so who cares? We go back down to the motel to rescue Emma, who gives us the keys to the diner. Even Alan, who wrote this story, finds that a bit odd. So we head over to the diner and have to fight a giant ball. After that, we can enter and have a look around. Something might have happened here, but I can't quite tell what exactly. We find keys to some motel rooms. Great, let's go tell Emma. Oh. She's dead. Well, we can still use the keys we found. Oh, that's a dead body on the ground. Awesome. Looks like he worked for the nearby observatory. Let's take the keys off his corpse and head that way. At the observatory, we can hear more Barry over the radio.
Be a liar! Whoa, hey, let me just step in here for a moment, boys. Yeah, Eddie, they do sound different, but believe me, we're not talking Milli Vanilli here. These guys are the real deal. Why don't you come to the gig tomorrow night and see for yourself? Once they get on that stage, boom, things get real.
Really?
Believe me, they play like they're possessed. It's almost like magic. Look, you see my boys play, you see the Old Gods for real.
I guess he's moved on. And with the Old Gods, no less.
Hello? I'm Dr. Rachel Meadows, and... Wait a moment, it's you! I can't believe you dare show your face around here again. Go away.
It wasn't me. I just look like him.
Are you serious? That's what you're going with? All right, come on in.
Thank you.
This fucking guy again? Jesus Christ. Change the channel. This is Rachel Meadows. She was here to observe some strange phenomena in the sky when who else but Mr. shows up and tries to read the message. Upset over something, he destroyed vital equipment to use the telescope. All he needs to do is to reach Meadows' car and retrieve the image array camera. Once there, he finds the place overrun by large enemy spiders. They're not really a big deal, but someone with arachnophobia might puke at the sight of them. We return with the glorious imaging array and get everything working, but oh no, the coolant was shut off. We need to go turn it back on. So we go do that, finding a few taken along the way. Now that everything's working again, we can finally read the message. It's a manuscript page, but parts are missing. Supposedly, Alan plans to use it similarly to how he used the other page to cause the satellite crash. Maybe he can still use a partial page. On to the third location, the drive-in. Here we meet Serena Valdivia, who was, I guess, touched by the darkness when Mr. came by to visit. It's only a minor case, so getting the power back on should cure it. Let's go do that now.
Oh look! Mr. Hero's here!
Brother, where is your hair? He just throws some taken at us and vanishes. Okay, so we get the power on and head back. Oh, what is that? These guys are taking that throw grenades, but not the normal kind. You see, these grenades aren't full of explosives, they're full of pure dark energy. They don't like to get too close to you, so you'll either need to get good at taking them out from afar, or attempt to rush them before they can run away. The bigger the group of enemies, the more important it is that these are taken out first. Look at this prick with his massive ego. It should be my face up there. Let's get this over with. With the power back on, Serena comes back to her senses and gives us the code to the projector booth. Speaking with her further, she reveals that she's actually friends with Alice, and Alice was meant to show a film dedicated to Alan the following day. Maybe we can save the day just in time to reunite with her. Maybe it really is almost over. At the projection booth is a sort of boss fight. These pillars break through the ground, transporting Taken from the dark place. All we have to do is shine some light on them to get rid of them. After that, we can enter the booth and use the page to finish this. We just have to change the date on the calendar and the time on the clock, and...
You've been up to something, haven't you? Too bad it's not gonna do any good. I'm a better you than you ever will be, and I've got all the time in the world. Everything you've got's going to be mine. Your life. Your wife! What are you gonna do about it? The sun's never coming up now. I can keep this up forever. Show yourself! Whatever you say, buddy!
What? No. That's not right. It was supposed to work. I guess we'll just have to do it all over again. I'm not even kidding. We really have to do it all over again. Mr. Scratch led us right into a trap and got us stuck in a time loop. I mean, at least we know what to expect this time around. As we get up, the cabin sinks a little into the lake. Everything seems the same. That is, until we reach Emma Sloan again.
Wow, it is you. I guess all of it really happened.
She remembers everything from their previous encounter and went out to get some items for us. All we have to do is get the battery from the old abandoned train tunnel. What is that in the sky? A bird? A plane? It's a bird man. A Taken that turns into a flock of crows. Or are they ravens? I don't know, and I don't really care.
Okay. I have to go to the bathroom first. Uh-oh, right? Watch this. Watch this.
We head to the tunnel and it's full of spiders. Ooh.
The reality we take for granted is softer, more adaptable than we think. Under correct conditions, you can reshape it, turn it into almost anything you want. When it happens, almost nobody notices. It's not that we forget, it's that after the change, there's nothing to remember.
That's interesting. I still can't wrap my head around the whole everyone's none the wiser of it thing. Some things I understand. Smaller things being written into reality that nobody notices is plausible, but Night Springs? Come on. There's a TV show in the world already called Night Springs. Is this show now suddenly based on a real place, and everyone already knows that? It just doesn't make sense. I know nobody cares, so let's talk about something else. How about guns? Alan Wake had guns, and so does American Nightmare. American Nightmare, though, has a lot more guns. A lot more. Of course, it has a revolver, 2 shotguns, and the rifle. But it also has a semi-automatic 9mm pistol, MAC-10, an M16, or is it an M4? A carbine rifle, which I think is an M14 or an M1A, I don't know. A Magnum revolver, sawed-off shotgun, a combat shotgun, a fucking crossbow, and let's not forget, a nail gun. Most of these weapons are found in cases that require manuscript pages to be unlocked. There are a lot of manuscript pages in this short-ass game. You will be able to find most of them playing casually. The further you go, the more pages you'll need to unlock weapons. Other weapons like the sawn-off and the crossbow can be found just by exploring, usually an area that you might not go to during normal gameplay. And my god, do these guns feel amazing. They're all a blast to use, and each one feels like they serve a purpose that suits a different playstyle. You can still only carry one weapon of each type, which didn't really matter much before, but now it forces you to make tough decisions on how you want to fight the Taken. It also helps that the gameplay has been improved from Alan Wake. You can now turn off the motion blur, thank God. You also actually go straight, which I don't understand why that was ever an issue to begin with. Overall, it's great. I'm happy. You know who's not happy? Emma Sloan, because she's dead.
No! This wasn't supposed to happen again! No!
Again. Let's get out of here. Back at the observatory, we go ahead and get what we need immediately and head back to the main building. We have the array, but we still need to fix the coolant. Okay, it's fixed. We now have a bit more of the page, and Dr. Meadows is starting to believe there's a bit more going on here than meets the eye. If the hellish monsters didn't already clue her in. But we already got what we need, so let's move on. Back at the drive-in,
you have considered the possibility that we're all here in the service of a greater purpose, incomprehensible to us,
and that what we take to be freedom is nothing more than the move of a pawn on some cosmic chessboard, limited in scope, subject to the whims of unseen players,
existing only for their entertainment.
Or perhaps we're just a twisted reflection of actual events that can happen elsewhere. Could it be that such is life in Night Springs?
Dude, what? Food for thought, Ricky. Food for thought.
I want to talk about Alice. Just look at her. She's really beautiful, isn't she? Your wife. Well, our wife, really. Just my wife soon. Don't worry. I'm not gonna treat her like the others. She's special. If I wanted her dead, she would be. I've been around for a while now. She thinks you're dead. It might as well be. I mean, even if you manage to keep surviving, you'll be in my trap forever. So I'll go to her. It'll be an amazing moment. Oh my God, you're alive. I'll be the good, loving husband for as long as I can stand it. She'll love it. And then, one day, somehow, it'll happen. Maybe I'll slip up, she spots something, or maybe she just starts running her mouth. And then I'll do it. It's gonna be sweet. My darling wife.
We get the power on, fight the pillar things, and check on Serena. You okay, Serena? Okay, good. Let's do this. And it didn't work. Here we are, back at the start, and this time the cabin sinks all the way down into the water. This is the last chance to stop Mr. Scrooge. Mr. Scrooge. What's the deal with Mr. Scrooge? Seriously though, what even is he? If you remember the ending of Alan Wake, Zane implies that he created Mr. Scrooge and says,
"Don't mind him, he's Mr. Scrooge. Your friends will meet him when you're gone."
But nothing comes of that. The next time we hear of Mr. Scrooge in-game is in the special episode The Writer, and Zane immediately dismisses it. My brother in Christ, I thought you created him. Apparently not. Apparently he was created by some force in the dark place. Not Barbara, she's dead. Some other force. It could also be possible that Zane did create him and knew that he was evil. That would be kind of fucked up, wouldn't it? So Scratch can enter and leave the dark place whenever he wants and uses that to torment Alan. In the real world, Scratch quickly plays up to the urban legend that Alan was still alive in Bright Falls. Scratch is clearly who Clay Stewart saw on the hiking trail. If you consider the scrapped Alan Wake 2 demo canon, then it's clear that Mr. Scratch had been making a name for himself while in Bright Falls, killing hitchhikers and making them disappear, and scaring others, or just appearing to them in the distance, giving them creepy stories to tell when they arrived home. He's purposely turning himself into an urban legend. I also believe that the camera he uses here is the one he got from the demo because look at this shimmy. I mean look, it's not the same dance, but it's uncanny. I can feel the energy, it's the same. His only motivation is to spread chaos and darkness in the world, and if the song didn't give it away, he is a psycho. He's meant to be an exaggeration of Alan, a version of him with all the good drained out. Everything bad that the public saw times 100. He's a walking urban legend, and he's played here perfectly by two different actors. Ilkaville, who plays Alan in live action sequences and who the look is based off, and Matthew Peretta, who voices Alan. It's not uncommon in gaming for a character to be based off and even mocapped by one actor and then voiced by another. It's less common now, but it does still happen. But Remedy took this a step further and had the real Ilkaville play him in every live sequence, and he would have to lip sync to Matthew Peretta's voice. It works here and in the first game because most scenes with live action Alan are shrunk down into tiny little TV screens with very low resolutions. That's why these raw files look so shit. It's intentional. They give it their all in American Nightmare to create a true psychopath of a villain. Peretta's performances are perfect, and Ilkaville's facial expressions and movements sell the character. It's great. Sucks we have to kill him. Back to the game. Whoa, what the fuck are you?
Holy shit! What are you, the king hillbilly?
Okay, mitosis taken? Fine. Birdmen taken? Whatever. But this? I don't know. This might be too far. Despite its stature, it's a total pushover. It's slow and dumb and can be easily taken down. A total bullet sponge, but manageable. We are back at the oil derrick and everything is already set up for us. All we have to do is watch the fireworks. One last time. Now that we have a better understanding of what's soon to happen, we can actually stop the ambush and save Emma Sloan. She lives! Back at the observatory, Alice is on the radio.
Now, Alice, we were talking about your husband, Alan Wake. Is that a sore subject for you?
Well, a little bit. Of course it is. The way I see it, we had our good times and our bad times, and on the whole, we had a lot of good times. He really made me happy. I don't mind being reminded of him. He had his problems, but it's really frustrating for me because people like to talk. They love to tell these crazy stories, and they never really knew him at all.
Well, the character he created, Alex Casey, is a household name. The books still continue to sell. There's been talk of a TV series, a movie, a video game. Must be nice to know that his work is still being appreciated by so many readers.
Yes, of course, but I don't really deal with the business side. I leave that to Alan's agent.
That would be Barry Wheeler. Actually, I just interviewed him. He's currently in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also Alan's best friend. Do you two keep in touch? Or?
We talk regularly. Like I said, he handles the business side.
I think we should talk about her film.
Yes, of course, you're right. I'm Eddie Rodman, talking to Alice Wake and Serena Valdivia, and we'll be right back.
It's kind of weird that, despite time looping, each radio show has been different. Probably a sign that things aren't quite as they seem. We get the pumps on and head into the observatory and face one last horde of Taken before receiving the transmission. We arrive early enough to get the whole thing. Now the drive-in. This time, we drive straight to the substation and get the power on. You good? Okay. Now, let's do this. Change the date, change the time, move the lamp, switch the poster, start the Death Rally arcade cabinet, optional, and put Alice's film in the projector.
Come on, buddy. Why don't you... What? What is this?
Mr. Scratch is dead. As the sun rises, Alan is reunited with Alice.
Alan? Is it really you?
It's really me.
How? I love you.
I love you.
It was the happy ending he had envisioned, but not truly what he had hoped for. He was reunited with Alice, but he only saw what he wanted to see. In the end, just as Zane already understood, there really is no way out of the dark place. Alan is trapped, and nothing can save him.
From Night Springs.
The ending of American Nightmare is bleak. It can be assumed that nothing Alan did had any effect whatsoever. He hadn't really killed Mr. Scratch, and he hadn't really reunited with Alice in the real world. I'm not exactly sure why it didn't work. I guess it has something to do with the fact that the manuscript Alan used was something he had previously written in the past. Like, maybe the magical powers of the lake only work if it's something written specifically for the lake, which is what happened with Departure and with Zane's poems previously. But hey, that's just a theory. You know the rest. So, that's where we leave it. Alan is still trapped in the dark place. Now what do we do? There's only one thing we can do. Who doesn't love a good old companion game mode to the story mode? No one, that's who. The arcade mode is a survival-based game mode where you survive against waves of enemies while waiting for a timer to reach 0. The more Taken defeated before the sun comes up, the higher score you get. Get 3 stars and you unlock a new stage, of which there are 5. These levels vary from an old oil derrick to a shipwreck in the middle of the desert. They are also decently large and have unique layouts. The cemetery, for instance, has a more open layout, split in 2 by a church. The ghost town with small paths and alleyways leading out from the main road, and the shipwreck, a mess of caves and cliffs surrounding a central shipwreck. The maps are alright, you get the idea. But is the game mode actually fun? Well, yeah, it's alright. It's a pretty fun game mode to spend one afternoon playing. Probably nothing more though. The gameplay is a little too slow for me. There's too much time in between waves, and honestly there's not enough enemies in each wave. This leads to a lot of downtime in between short bursts of combat. I think a steady stream of enemies would have been a lot better. There is an upside though, the guns. They're all here to play around with, but in order to use them, you still have to collect manuscript pages that are only available in the story mode. So that's pretty interesting. Look, I don't know what you want me to say, okay? It's pretty good. It's fun. You know? Fight till dawn. Am I right? Well, that's it. We did it. Or did we? So far in the story, Alan takes a vacation to Bright Falls, Washington, and is tricked and taken advantage of by a dark presence, which forces him to write this darkness into power over the world. He escapes and is able to overpower the dark force, saving his wife, but trapping himself in the dark place. Now he is tormented by an evil doppelganger named Mr. Scratch, created by the dark place, who can enter and leave the real world at will. 2 years after Alan was trapped in the dark place, Mr. Scratch goes on a psychopathic rampage through the town of Night Springs, Arizona, in another manuscript written by Alan Wake. He uses the manuscript to hunt down and kill Mr. Scratch, and hopefully return to the real world. At first, it looks like he succeeds, but it's quickly revealed that he failed. He's still trapped in the dark place, and Mr. Scratch is still out there. Somewhere.
No? Al?
Thank you for joining me today to talk a little bit more about Alan Wake. I'm so glad you showed up. Don't worry, there's one more thing I want to talk about before we continue on to Alan Wake 2. I'm pretty sure you can already guess what it is. It's Bright Falls. It's the Bright Falls miniseries. Thank you for joining me in today's video. I genuinely enjoy making these, and I will continue to do so. I bought these things just so I could show off that I'm much cooler than you are. Just kidding. You guys are cool. Well, anyway, I gotta go. I gotta go play Alan Wake 2. Or maybe I gotta go play a Resident Evil game. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Quantum Break, maybe? Who knows? Max Payne? It's possible. Anything's possible.
It's not a lake, it's an ocean. Ooh.